Good afternoon, good afternoon. Yes, this is Spirit Journey. It's Wednesday, February 26, 2020, and the time is about 1:17 p.m. Boy, I have to share something with you. Wow. About 45 minutes ago, I had gotten violently sick, a purging. It actually started, the hint of it, I thought it was going to go away. But I was, as many of you know, when I take my shower, I drink my tonic. It's filtered water, and I have my green herbals in it. Sometimes I have some minerals that I put in it. Either way. But I think I might have made it a little bit more concentrated than I should have. And I was progressing, and some of it wasn't really mixed well because it was too concentrated, the powders in the water. And I just had an inch, like I usually drink 16 ounces. And I just had maybe like an inch left in the glass. And in me said, no. Because I felt if I attempt to drink this whole thing, I would vomit. Okay? So I'll get out of the shower, dry myself off, but I feel a little queasy a little bit. And I had a video going on, and the video was with this YouTuber that I listen to on occasion. And her video was very insightful, full of wisdom. Excuse me. It was full of wisdom. And in short, really what it's about is our relationship with ourselves and the illness that we may, how we affect ourselves and how life affects us and how we react. And I think what was happening, what started to happen to me after I was listening to it, my body was reacting. Yeah, I was really listening to the program, and I was doing my exercises with it going on. And I think my mind was reacting to the info. And even though physically I was feeling good with the stretching and everything, but I noticed something. My nausea started coming on to me. I thought, let me get up, take my quick shower, take my, do what, you need to do to start a productive day. Well, there were some things that needed to be done that subconsciously needed to be done in my own personal life. And so I started to, take care of things, around my place, and preparing to feed my little dogs. And I noticed that one of them was really active, being very jumpy and demanding. Her energy was kind of high. And, her breed is kind of high, in energy levels. But it was affecting me. And I think it was a combination of things. The combination of my tonic that was too concentrated for my stomach. And also I almost forgot. Before I went in the shower, I did a meditation. And I said a word of intent that I want to really, deal with my, letting loose certain things, releasing certain things from my life. And I think that really was the initial primer to my nausea. And that the video that I was listening to was just confirming what I need to do personally in my life. And then my dog acting out. See, my dog, this particular dog, is really following my cues, my energy. See, this particular dog and me, we have similar energies. She's a nervous dog, and I have to admit at times I'm a nervous person, nervous energy. I might be quiet, but you could be quiet and still be a nervous person. So with that, and then the green tonic, and then the exercising, and I also was doing this tapping release of my pressure points. It's a technique used to release old traumas and really clearing your body. And I was doing that when that video I was listening to was on. So in short, with all this, what was happening to me, I was getting overloaded and my body needed to release. And then all of a sudden, I started to feel like I was going to get sick. I was getting nauseated, and I felt it coming. I said, oh, please. I had to, stand still and just take deep breaths, hoping, because I don't like to get sick. Well, it got the best of me maybe 15 minutes later, because everything I was trying to keep it down, well, it happened. I had bent down, and it triggered a response in me, and I got violently sick. And I had, luckily, I had to go to that toilet, boy. Wow. That's all I can say right now. Wow. So with that all being said, why am I doing this this audio? As I was thinking about, see, this whole thing, what was racing through my mind. I have, like I did the tapping responses to release traumas or stresses from the body. These things that concern me, that I experience, and also related to the video that I was watching this morning. The video about what's happening to, how we're affecting each other. We're making each other sick, and it's becoming a toxic world. Well, a lot of it was about women. And so I, as a woman, would like to address matters with women. And I include myself in this critique. And I say this out of love, not out of hatred. And like I had to purge out what was in me. And so it's just to alert you, women, what's happening to us. I'm going to talk about healthcare in the hospital system, because that is current with me. And many women are in the healthcare system. And women in general are the healthcare providers in the home. So that's why I am addressing women primarily, but we all affect each other, men and women. So here I go. I was remembering some of the things that happened to me in the... I'm a veteran, and I attend the VA hospital in New York City. There's really nothing wrong with the equipment. You know, they have modern equipment. And I see that in many aspects they really want to improve. But I notice lately I sense a hatred, a jealousy, a resentment towards me. This is just what I pick up. And I pick this up from the white women. These white women in general come from Eastern Europe. And many of them are Jewish women. I know this is not going to be an anti-Jewish rant, and also some will call it anti-Semitic. It's not about being anti-anything. But as a woman, and as a black woman, that's my racial classification. See, women like myself, what they call the black woman, black American woman, we're under pressure. And as the YouTuber that I was listening to was joking, you know, saying in a funny way, but it's to make a point. You know, we've all heard this. If you live in the United States, we've all heard the expression, I'm a strong black woman. And what do you gather when you hear that? An obnoxious black woman, usually fat, black in coloring, and no type of etiquette or social grace whatsoever. She's usually the cesspool of our community. I'm being real. And so, but historically, we've been affected by so many things living in the United States and living in the Americas. See, the black woman, and no, this is not a pity party or anything like that about black women, poor me. No, that's not where I'm going to go with this. I'm not going to go like that in this audio. But I'm just giving a background. And so you have this black woman who historically had her children removed from her, sold into slavery, and then post-slavery you had intimidation from the white man that if you don't control your children to be servant to me, I'm going to kill your children in your face. So you better behave And you better train your sons to be limp wrist and subservient to me. And so what do you have in the Americas? A lot of black men now are acting what they call the alternative lifestyle choice. And they're not marrying the black woman, but yet the black woman is supporting their children and the black male child. She's usually the single head of household, and so she has to juggle how she's going to tend to her children, her young children, and work at the same time, because now the adult black male is not head of household, you know, in partnership with the black woman. He's usually absent, and that's socially constructed. That was imposed upon our group. So we have history from the past, and then modern day, and then plus never. Lavin, cut it out. Good boy, good boy. Okay, it's okay, baby. See, they're doing vacuuming now. Yeah, we gotta vacuum our life. I want to let this pass. Okay. So what happened is that she's told that she's free, but not her family. Not as a group. On paper we're free. But she's not stupid. And she's only responding to what is. And what is that she's being disrespected. She had to care for the white families, historically. The white woman, she had to do everything for the white woman. She had to do sexual favors to her white husband, you know, to the white lady's white husband. And then told that she's not pretty. And told how ugly she is. Yet she is loyal. And then now you take away her children and throw them into prison. And expect her to be happy and subservient. And now she said, you know, I had enough. You have all these other so-called women of color who come to the United States of America and reap the benefits of her ancestors, both male and female. And she's not being thanked for her efforts. And the man, the black man, her partner, is being thrown in prison, is being taught, don't be a man. But if you act like a woman, we'll reward you, and we'll offer you jobs in management, in businesses, in the art world. We'll do all that for you. So it's reversing the roles. We're being taught that we're going to reverse the roles. And so now she's walking around angry. And now she has to share, remember about the inclusiveness that she had swallowed, the inclusiveness of all these different nationalities and other people of color, and sharing in the pot all these people that she allowed in because she's taught that we're supposed to all be one and inclusive, but she's being disrespected. And she's even being disrespected in the health field. I go to the VA hospital. It's free, the services. And again, you have all the modern equipment, and you can get everything done at that building. X-rays, labs, you name it, they do it there. And so I go there. But what I have been experiencing there, now again in the VA hospital, the military, it's still mostly men, especially when I served. So now it's not as much, but still, most of the people go to the VA hospital or VA clinics are male. And in New York City, unfortunately, the social system, most of the men that go are also mostly black men. But now it is changing. You are slowly seeing an increasing number of young white males. Not many. And when I see them, they stand out. But if you do have a white male, it's usually the, what do you call it, the Korean War vets. So these are people like they would be in their 80s. And now you're also having an increasing number of the Vietnam vets, so they will be in their 70s. Okay, so you got 70s and 80s. And those demographics are usually whites. But mostly everybody else, for the past 20 plus years that I've been going to the VA hospital, are overwhelmingly black men of all ages. And they're usually in a very, very bad social situation. These aren't men that had been empowered when they came back from the military. They were forgotten, okay? And they told, yes, we want your services. And then when you finish and you did your service, and when you come back to civilian life, they treat you like crap. And then you say you have to share, this is society saying you have to share equality and inclusiveness with all these other groups. And no, this audio is not about bashing different immigrants. That's not what this is about. I'm just giving background information. So again, so when people aren't loved, and it's obvious that you don't like them, they're going to react. They're going to be sad. They're not, if you look at how they dress, these guys, they don't dress with pride and dignity. And in the military, these black men, they take care of their appearance, right? But when they become civilians, they dress like they don't care about themselves. And then the women. Now, there's not that many women that go to the VA hospital. And I've been going there for on and off for the past 20 plus years. And so I'm the only woman there, patient there. And everybody else is male. But now slowly it's starting to pick up. And again, some of those women are just the spouses of the men that serve, and they're just accompanying their husbands. Okay. But I noticed though, so you have this background information of what's happened socially. So the woman, the black woman, is hated. She's hated because she is the symbol of the black family. She teaches the culture, the social norms, everything. But one thing with the social norms, it's been corrupted. She's been corrupted. And she's trying to put it together. And in the United States, they have this mantra, I'm the strong black woman. That's what they want you to believe. You're human. And you're in pain. A woman is not a man. And a man is not a woman. But society is telling you that this is the socially appropriate response to racism and sexism and hatred that is imposed upon you. And so you have this persona, I'm the strong, and yeah, that YouTube individual that I was listening to today, she hit it on the head. And I think my body reacted, and it was purging out all that negativity that's being put upon us. So I noticed lately, now I think basically I'm an easygoing woman. I've been to different places around the world. I'm a college graduate. I have my master's. So it's not, so they can't say I'm how I'm acting, but I notice that there are women, health practitioners. Now, I'm not getting this from the black women that work there, the blacks and the West Indian women, and even some of the Hispanic women that work there. I'm getting this negativity from the white women that work at the VA hospital. And these white women in question are from Eastern European backgrounds. And many of these women from the Eastern European bloc are Jewish women. And so I come in, and again, it's not that many women there. And I know I'm not being rude. I'm not using profanity. I'm not late. In fact, I'm always early. So they can't say that that's the problem. So what is the problem? Is it something that they wrote in my records? And if there is something, why are they so angry at me? See that this is the issue. This is essential. You have two strong-minded women. The black woman of the Americas and the Eastern European Jew/Slavic woman. People in the Eastern European bloc nations, they were not wealthy in these locations. They were a people who are striving to become something better. Right? They had the opportunity to come to the United States. And what happens? They meet a woman here who is the mirror image of what she faced back in Eastern Europe. Oppression from the system, and also because of the religion that they practice, some of them. So what happens sometimes when you run away from your problems? And then when you see head on someone that reminds you of what you faced back home, well, you take it out on them. And I think that's what's happening. But see, I'm not acting like a street woman. See, they know they think that my being poised is a threat to them. So you have people that believe that if I have a piece of the pie, that they feel threatened that they cannot get a piece. Doesn't God or the Creator reign on both of our land? And crops grow equally? When you have the Creator, there's never lack. The lack is not trusting that you are going to get your portion in life. My portion in life has nothing to do with what your family can receive, but it's a fear that happens to a lot of us women, regardless of your background. But I'm just focused on what happened in that hospital because I see it happening. And as I got up today and listened to this program from this YouTuber who was exposing about how we're becoming mind controlled and how religion brainwashes us and controls us, and that we need to release these lies from us because it's toxic. We are becoming toxic to each other. And so here we go to the hospital for wellness. And here, rather than have an understanding of the woman who so happened to be black or what they call people of color now, there's a reaction. And it doesn't need to be. See, one thing also, that the modern day black woman or black people is really the true essence of the victimhood of the ancient Hebrews of the Bible. But you know, the modern day Jew from Europe, Eastern Europe, is not genetically related to the people of the book. But they had taken on the identity, according to a Jewish scholar, it's not my words, but by this Jewish scholar, who was born and raised in Israel from a Jewish mother and a Jewish father, said genetically they are not of that race historically. But so, you have a change in identity, an identity that is as being trained to believe in that they are something of a victim of history. And so that's the identity of many of them, the identity of being oppressed, an identity of being hated by others. But what's really happening is that they are not victims per se, but that they are victimizing themselves by taking on a persona that is not theirs. And you have people who are exploiting them to make them believe they come from a background that's not theirs. I even watched a program, it was 1 or 2 days ago. This woman by the name, she is a medium, and the program goes by the name Abraham Hicks. She is a woman, and she channels this being or collective, and this being has a lot of wisdom. And there was a person in the audience that questioned her. It was a man. And he came across this victimization about the Jewish people and the Holocaust, and how could all these things happen to them at when he said that they were gassed in the ovens. So it was like a victim thought pattern. And this Abraham Hicks, now I don't know what ethnic background she comes from, but she gave him a response that was very well thought out, and it put him in check about his victimhood. But why I also bring it up about this man, that we believe that we are some things, but are we? He thought like a victim. Just like you have a lot of black people that act like victims also. See, it's like both. One historically can prove that they were enslaved, that they are being harassed in modern days, versus another historical group, and then being told that this historical group may not really even existed as it's portrayed in the Bible. Okay, according to Jewish scholar, modern day Jewish scholar. Did you know that the victims in those concentration camps, yes, you had victims, you had people who perished, definitely. But you know, modern day researchers are teaching that people did not die in those gas chambers. When these rooms were tested of evidence of gas, this specific type of gas that they use, it would have leave a particular color, and it could be easily tested, and it was tested as negative. But when you look on those films that I've seen many, many years ago when I was a little girl, you know how most of those people died? Well, for one thing, those camps were what you call work camps / death camps. These were places where people were forced to work. What type of work were they doing? See, that's the real secret in all this stuff about this victimhood, about oppression, and World War II that they really don't want you to know about. The people who were put in these camps, what they call concentration camps. Again, the word concentrate, that means intense, saturated. Well, what's saturated? The energy there. These concentration camps was to absorb the people's energy via work. Work is energy. And it was a concentration of energy that was needed by their oppressors to do a task. What was that task? That is the real question about what's going on in those camps. Again, when you look on the pictures, when you look on those pictures of what those victims, what they looked like, they looked like skin and bones. They did not die in the gas chamber. They died from exhaustion because they were worked to death. They worked them long enough to extract their labor, gave them just enough food to keep them alive until the job was done. And they didn't want to feed them too much because, see, what was to happen? And what it came to me, what was going on in these camps, was that there was a secret space initiative program going on with the Germans. The Jewish people of that day in Europe were highly educated people. Okay? And so they had the savvy to operate equipment, to do the necessary task to deliver a product. And they didn't want the people to live long enough because they didn't want the secret out about these secret space program initiative to build the spacecrafts and other equipment and technologies. And so, but these people were needed to do all this work and then to kill them off, because dead men and women cannot tell your secrets. This secret was so secretive, but they had to mask over the real intention behind this. This war in World War II against the Jew was the cover story for what was really going on. And yes, the narrative was that we don't like Jews, according to the German philosophy, but they didn't. The Nazis, the Nazi Party, okay, specifically not the German people, but the Nazi Party, the government, the ruling government of that day, had an agenda. And it utilized a population who had the mental, the education necessary to get that product done. Africans did not have that education to get that thing done, because if it's about labor, you just go into the third world, Africa and Asia, and exploit their physical labor. But they didn't have the technical skills. But who in Europe does? The Jew. And so they were taken from various countries in Europe and then shipped over by train into these concentration camps of abuse. But you notice that they never show you in between. How did they, if they came in there looking relatively healthy, and then all of a sudden you see all these skin and bones? Well, the only thing you hear about amongst the modern day Jewish people of today are the gas chambers. They didn't die in gas chambers. They died of exhaustion for being overworked. Because remember, in the movies that you saw, the documentaries, I don't speak German, but they translated what it meant. It said, work makes freedom. And so, yeah, they were taught if they work hard, they'll be free. But they were not freed. They were lied to. But you had those, when they arrived at the concentration camp / battery, some already came there a little unhealthy. So those people were killed immediately by gunpoint. Okay? But the rest were sent over and to work at those underground bases and doing technical work. It takes a long time to get skin and bones, right? It takes a while to get like that. You don't get like that overnight. And I think once they extracted the labor from these men and women, then they put them in the other part of the camps, the part that you see in those old World War II films of being skin and bones, and then they put them on a pit and shot them up. It was disgusting. And then what happened? The war was over. Many of them were. Oh, I have to back up a little bit. But before the elimination of the problem, as it's called in history, the final solution, as it's called. Now, it wasn't a secret, a total secret, of that there was a movement against the Jewish people and other ethnic minorities there in that part of Europe. But guess what? See, there's another conspiracy that's not being discussed. You have the rabbis say, hey, it's getting bad here in Europe. And you know what the rabbis told them? To their flock? They said, well, no, stay here. You don't want to go to, get this, evil America. Don't go to evil America, because it's going to pollute you and corrupt your mind as a Jew. So they listened to their rabbis. They could have escaped Europe, but see, that was part of the plan. That was actually part of the final solution. Their own people, leaders in the Jewish community, told their own people, these people were highly read. They were able to read and write. Okay, so they had access to information. But they listened to their leaders, and they stayed. And that's why they died. And that was the plan all along. So, these people, those people, they were those were the true victims. Those who listened to their rabbi and get killed because they said, don't go to evil America. But look what happened. After the war, where did many Jews go to? Oh, they went to evil America. That's where they went. And you know what else? What evil America did for these people? They gave them access to education, health care, housing. And they outdid the black people in America, who are the modern day, socially speaking, the equivalent to the ancient Hebrews, right? We're people who were enslaved, generationally oppressed, laws, all these things that happened to the modern day Jew in Europe is happening to us here. So again, these people from Eastern Europe, and many of them are Jewish, they come to evil America and they're doing extremely well. But not all were able to leave Europe, because after the World War II, you had many who were behind in what's called the Soviet Union, the Soviet bloc. And so they're being re-enslaved again by a new oppressor. But again, the Soviet Union and the Communist Party, who created the Communist Party. But Jews, people of Jewish ancestry, Jewish men, that's what happened. So you have a Jewish organization oppressing the religious Jew and then re-traumatizing them. And then now when the fall of the Soviet Union happened, what happened? Those people from the Soviet Union left in the 1990s, and they came to ugly America. And it's these groups that seems to be working at the VA hospital in New York City, the one in Manhattan. And they're in all these positions. No, this is not about anti-Semitism. I'm just showing the relationship. Who's working there now? You have many people from Eastern Europe, but many of them are of Jewish ancestry. And so, and many of them, they're actually younger than me. And based on their age, they'll probably come to the United States in the 1990s. Many of them got into the health field. But what's happening now? So you got someone who left the Soviet Union, who wanted to make something good of themselves and come to ugly America. And then you got the black woman and black people in America, and they're colliding. See, one thing, when you're leaving persecution and when you want to forget where you come from, but then you're reminded, or sometimes the ego thing. You say, I know that you're not liked in the United States. I see how they mock you. I'm going to mock you too, because I want to feel good about myself. And so you show contempt for us. We even work in your homes. Many of these black women and West Indian women and Hispanic women from the Caribbean and Latin America clean your house, take care of your children. And then you're going to mistreat us. Some of them, I've heard a story that they decided not to pay the lady and threatened her that we're going to call, you don't have your papers, whatever. But it was to exploit her, to force her to work for them without money. It was a threat. And they didn't release her. Let her go. It was mean. It was mean-spirited. So you too, Jewish woman from Eastern Europe, the new arrivals, are acting like your oppressors from Eastern Europe. You're acting just as ugly, but worse. And so now there's conflict. You see, people like myself, and you don't like the joy that I may have when I come in there. I walk over there, and I say, you know, many people don't have access to medical care. If I needed medical care at any hour, I can go there. I could go in the ER room for free if I really needed it. Many of us don't have that option. So I am grateful. And I'm grateful for the help. But you know, I resent how I'm being treated. You may not really verbalize too much to it, but your eyes speak it. There's no reason to hate me. I've never heard, I don't know you. I'm easygoing. But I can pick up a hatred. And I used to live in an area where it was heavily Russian Jews, an area in Queens that I used to live in. And I remember hearing, it's amazing how the ears could selectively get something. It was a man, young men, they were like in their 20s. Yeah, 20s, late 20s. And he's talking to other people. It was a group of them. And they're walking behind me. And I think I was walking home from work, you know, from the subway. And I was walking home. And they're chatting about, and it's very animated conversation. And then it was a break in their Russian, and they were speaking English, this expression, something about the professional black woman, but it was said with contempt. And then I turned around. Isn't that something? So here, young people who probably just arrived, that was during the 1990s. Early 1990s. No, mid-1990s. So they were only in the U.S. for just a couple of years, maybe 2 years or something. Because the U.S. was taking in a lot of Russian Jews, because they were supposed to be discriminated against in their countries. Even though the people who started that government were Jewish people. But now they're the victims again. Okay? It's just an observation. But now, hear me, in modern day, ancient Hebrew, so to speak, of a group that's being persecuted or discriminated against, I should say. And yes, I was wearing a business suit. I was coming home from work. But the contempt that he had for me, I'm a modest woman, especially in that day, not bothering anyone and obeying the law. But it's that contempt that happened that I heard. And it's that same contempt that I'm picking up now, even though I'm an older person now. So what's going on? So you think by mistreating me is bettering you? There's another thing I want to point out. I know I'm a little bit all over the place, but I'm just expressing what's happening here. See, another phenomenon that's happening, see, when you came over from Europe to live in ugly America, according to your rabbis, see, there was a problem in the religion of Judaism that was happening. You had the women that were being oppressed by the men. Women weren't allowed certain roles in their synagogues. Women may not have been allowed in certain occupations. And in some branches of Judaism, you're just there to have children, be a baby maker, and fulfill your wifely duties and take care of the home. And then you had, in some families, you had to take care of the man. So many of the men wanted to only marry women that came from rich families so they can stay at home, these guys, and study the Torah. That must have pissed you off. So you're doing all the work so this guy could become religious, but yet not take care of the home. So you became resentful, and rightly so. And then what happened next? The women's liberation movement happened. Yeah, the women's liberation movement in the United States. When did it really spark its head? Around the 1970s. That was a biggie. The 1970s. Yeah, women now that were speaking out and wanting equality to the man. See, ladies, you don't realize the power that you do have. You create the tone of the home. You teach the culture with regard to foods, music, customs, all that, and attitudes. What males and females role play to do. You teach that initially, but somehow, even though you teach all that, you're the primary teacher in all this, the men get control over you. Even though you taught that male exactly what he's to think, and he oppresses you. And so what happened? You rebelled against him, and you went to such a rebellion that now you started to promote that we don't need men anymore, and you started promoting lesbianism. And again, some women are born like they said, born that way. But some people are created that way. And then it run amok. It got out of control. And who primarily are the women that started this female liberation movement of the 1970s? Jewish women. Okay? And it didn't really work for you. So yeah, now you may be in businesses, and then it's hard for you to have children when you're ready to have children. And you know, a lot of these guys don't want you anymore. You have a lot of the white, and then this also includes white men, non-Jews also. But they're not marrying you as much. Where I live, a lot of these white dudes are marrying Eastern Asian women and creating a culture here that is very accepting to anything East Asian. And so what happened? So what do, Jewish woman and white woman? You say, well, this white man doesn't want me. Well, I'm going to take the black man. And so that's what many of you are starting to do. You making the black man think, wow, I got a white woman. I have what the white man wants. Well, these poor dudes don't realize that you are the reject from your own group. These white men and Jewish men rejected you. And then now you're in competition now with, again, the black woman. And you know what else you're teaching us, black women? You're teaching us and encouraging us to come into the lesbian/woman's lib movement. And so you watch these black women, and they're acting just like those people, white and Jewish women from the 1970s, to hate men, to hate their own men, big mouth, to think you can do it all without the man. But what's happening? The black man is not marrying the black woman. And when he has a black woman, he's usually not very affectionate to her in public. And he's not really tending his own kid. You very rarely see the black man with his own black kid in a nurturing situation. What I have been seeing were these relatively young black men. Cut it out! These young black men with children from white women and Eastern Asian women, and proudly displaying their children. So you had the black man think that he only has something of value to show off if it's from you. You have him totally programmed. You have him totally controlled. He thinks he's made it because he has you. But you're robbing him of his true identity. Yes, he might be supporting you, giving you what you need, but you're destroying his true identity. And the black woman, what happens to her? She's becoming angrier and angrier. She's not getting the support from her husband, if she has one. She's not getting the support from her boyfriend or the father of her children. And he's not displaying his children the same way he displays yours. How sad. So now, again, I go to the VA hospital. So all that drama, social drama, is hitting head on when I get to that VA hospital. See, we're both being fooled about our social position and what's happened historically upon us. We're fighting each other. We think that each other is the cause of each other's problem, or don't want to be reminded what happened to us in the old country. So it's so much easier to just take it out on her. And oh, you know, those black women, the big mouths, I'm going to get her before she gets me. But look, we're both being affected and being deceived. None of us could really, truly grow without the support of each other. Because despite what groups we come from, we're still under a social constraint of oppression. We have to learn to love ourselves. And yes, we've made wrong choices in history. But you know, we can overcome them by understanding who we are. Who are we? We're human beings, and we had a role to play socially in taking care of the family, your husbands, and then in reciprocation, our husbands are also supporting us, protecting us, and sacrificing for us as well. We're being deceived to think that we can't make it and that someone else is taken from you. You are traumatizing yourself through your actions against your neighbor. You are harming yourself. When you give someone who's hurting poor service, poor treatment when you get in a hospital, you're hurting yourself because, again, that woman, that so-called minority, oftentimes is working in your home and taking care of your children. And then, yes, many of these women of color and black women may retaliate by the attitudes that you see displayed. And we all seen it, and we all know what it is. It's ugly. Both of us are acting very ugly towards each other. Because in the long run, we are still women, whether we want to act like men or not. You are given a special position here on planet Earth for the role of female, the nurturer, the tender, the support staff. We're all these things. We are the healers, the emotional healer. We listen. We are a vessel. We have the power of conceiving children in our wombs. It's a heavy responsibility. It is a privilege to be a woman. But for you, black women, white women, and Jewish women, to fight each other is not benefiting any of us here in this country or on this planet. We have to stop the nonsense and the petty jealousies that women are doing against other women, and expect that of us to have any progression. It's really tipping the scale in such a way that everything is dumping out on both sides of the scales. The men are confused now. The men you have now are acting like women and are taking over the spot of women. They control what you wear. A lot of these designers are gay men. And these gay men are producing clothing that does not properly support your body. They build bras that has aluminum wire on the bottom that cut into your body, and the aluminum is leaking into your blood system because it's right underneath your armpit where the lymph nodes are, which is part of the immune system, making you sick. You have some of these guys that are actually changing their gender, cutting off their private parts surgically, and then dress like a woman, and then they are demanding equality and getting into positions, and they become your bosses still as women, because now you have to, equality. They're the new minority. See, we're all hurting each other. The men are hurting their bodies, and they don't want to be men anymore, because now the men feel that they're not needed anymore. They feel like they've been being, what do you call it, reverse discrimination, and they're fed up too. So they want to secure their position, and some of them are even willing to change their gender so they can get a job and then control the women below them still. And then some of the women feel like they don't need men, and promoting a lifestyle that does not promote family. But then they have to think of creative ways to maintain their control by recruiting and teaching young women that the alternative lifestyle is the right choice, rather than fixing the problem that was taught to them from the 1970s, and that it didn't work. But see, they're selfish. They know it didn't work, and they know that it's hurting. We're in trouble. We're in trouble. We even have a lot of these black women too, that it is, see, what they call colorism. And that some of them are taken out on women whose skin color is not the same like theirs, or their hair is not the same texture as theirs, and they are exploiting that. See, it's all about their lack of self-love. They don't love themselves. See, someone who loves themselves is not looking for someone that's weaker so they can exploit them. We don't love ourselves, black women. You're being taught not to like yourself. I'm saying, hey, love yourself. Because you've been around this long, and you've been deceived, and you've been mistreated. Start loving yourself. Start loving yourself. and start taking care of yourself. You were lied to. You Jewish woman. You were lied to. You were lied to about your identity. You were lied to by your rabbis who said for you to stay in Europe and they knew what was going to happen to you. You were lied to because those people who came, got into the new government system in Eastern Europe were people from your own group and started oppressing you. See that? You are affecting yourself. And then when you come here and meet other women, in particular the black woman, who is being oppressed here and has to share with every other ethnic group here, but she is forgotten. Let's cut out the nonsense. And let's start to educate ourselves and respect yourself to respect your neighbor. Women are women globally, no matter how you cut it. Women are essential, and that message has to be conveyed to your daughters. But many of the women, mothers, are jealous of their own daughters. They're so desperate and fearful of a man leaving because how's she going to take care of herself? She turns a blind eye when she knows her daughter's being molested at home by her husband or boyfriend. It's not worth it, ladies. It's not worth it. See, you're only hurting yourself. Because see, she learns what you're doing. The daughter is learning that your priority is money and not about quality of life. We don't need a lot to live, people. We really don't. We just want more. We think by getting more is giving us security. But as you see what's going on, as you look at the population, we're getting fatter and fatter. And we're becoming sicker and sicker. We don't need more. We're becoming bloated, and we're over-consuming to our own death. We're not doing what we really should be doing. We're not treating our daughters right. We're teaching our daughters that to be greedy, and that to not do your job as a nurturer and to protect your children and to educate your daughters. And you're teaching your sons, well, I don't have a guy, so my son is going to be my substitute husband. And he becomes undisciplined, unruly, and spoiled, and he starts to act out. We're hurting ourselves. Start loving yourself, true respect for yourself, and stop hurting your neighbor. Love your neighbor. See, through the deception of our so-called teachers and religious leaders who are lying to us about our history and who we really are. I hope you accept this message with the love that I have, that I intend for it to have. My intention. So this is what I want to share for today. And I know I mentioned a lot of things, but the essence of all this is about self-love and to love your neighbor will make this world a happier place for all types of women and their families. So take care and enjoy the rest of your day. Peace, love, and joy to all the women out there, regardless of their backgrounds. Bye-bye.